This is the GPL podcast, part of the Pull Tab Sports family.
Oh boy. Jupe making mistakes. I love it.
That's more than your buddy Ramsey now. He's been on only twice now, hasn't he? So
as long as I stay ahead of him, my ego can be maintained. If he gets ahead of me in that, we're gonna have a problem.
So right away, my confidence is doing really well before that.
Now, here's Jupiter and Vigo. Good evening. Welcome to the GPL podcast, episode number 289. Vigs, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. We are back in hockey season now that we got some results to assess. We've seen the team on the ice. We saw some good. We saw some bad. We saw some unknowns, and we saw a little bit of a, injury issue stuff pop up. So,
yeah, that wasn't great. So in the intro there, Mr. Shearhorn's kind of poking at Mr. Ramsey about he wants to stay ahead of him on shows. Well, as of this appearance now, Jack Ramsey will be ahead of Mr. Eric Shearhorn by one. This is your fifth appearance, Jack, to Eric's fourth. How do you feel about that?
Feels good. Feels right.
Feels good.
Everything's right in the world. No, let's keep it that way. We said the same exact thing, but let's keep it that way. So next time you guys have him on, I will I'll shoot you a text and volunteer for emergency podcast or something.
Well, thanks for being on the show again, Jack. I know you guys will be sharing radio duties again this year, so we're just going to keep you guys in the rotation just because, well, it's fun too to have you on. And even if you haven't seen the Michigan Tech games, which I don't think you saw this weekend, I only saw kind of half of one.
I didn't. I was battling around. I don't have the YouTube TV. I need to go get bunny ears, and do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do have the YouTube TV, which helps you for Big Ten Network and Fox 9 and Fox 9 Plus. So that's good. Biggs, what do you have for TV? What do you use?
I've got the FUBU because I wanted to be able to watch the Twins. I don't know why. I'm
that's
sucker for torture and punishment. My kid likes baseball, so we watched some games together. We didn't watch many down the stretch, but I like the FUBU. It's a pretty good interface. I can go back and watch the games. I also have the Big Ten Plus subscription to be able to watch the condensed games, which is really nice for me as a college hockey fan. I can watch a lot of the other games just in like the 20-minute condense, and then the ESPN Plus, I can watch other games that way too. And flow hockey. I got a little flow hockey action too to watch.
So you're missing the NCHC?
Missing the NCHC. I'll probably have to get it for the North Dakota series.
It's a little expensive.
I'll have it for the month.
You will not have to get it for the North Dakota series. It will be on Fox 9 Plus, both games.
News to me, saving some money. So that's good for me.
Somebody put it on, tweeted at me over the weekend. They looked ahead 2 weeks on the schedule. I'm like, I saw it Friday. I'm like, ooh, we'll wait till the 24 hours gets to Saturday. And sure enough, both games will be on Fox 9 Plus against North Dakota, which makes fans happy, of course. It will be a little different. They're just picking up the feed. So you won't be able to stream it on, BTN Plus. You could only stream on NCHC.TV, which was what Beagle was going to do. There was always kind of a secret with that vote, Vigs. If you signed up for a day pass right before, that 7:00 game, since the 6:00 game the second night, you were grandfathered in and got to watch both games. So there's that opportunity for people who can't get Fox 9 Plus. Oh, that was a lot. Vigs, this past weekend, Michigan Tech split. Possible Garuba injury. Didn't look good at first. Maybe it doesn't look so bad now. Townsend and Mo didn't play. So all these things, what's going on with the team?
Yeah, Gruba got boarded pretty early into the game. I think he only
Okay.
had like 3 shifts in the game. We got to see how they were going to deploy the D. It kind of would be like they'd run through their pairs, and then they'd give Thomas and Middlestat some extra ice time, and then they get back to their pairs. But when Gruba got hurt, that kind of threw everything in for a loop. And we found out on the Saturday night radio pregame that Motzko said, it's just a minor thing. If it was a playoff game, he could have played Saturday, and he's probably going to be back this weekend, but they held him out just for precautionary reasons. So I think we saw how important Leo Gruba is to the defensive group by when they lose him, it got a little dicey there for them for a little bit. We saw that team kind of slip a little bit during the second period. After a power play where I thought they had kind of a long shift, it took them a while to get their legs back, and they fell behind. And Motzko after the game said, we learned a lot, and luckily we came away with a win, because I think there were a lot of things with their game that he wasn't quite happy with. But the offense was there, I think, a little bit because Michigan Tech didn't back check hard enough on transition plays, and that's Minnesota's bread and butter. If there's a quick transition play, those forwards are beating their check down the rink, and the Gophers made plays and made the Huskies pay quite a bit there on Friday.
Now, Jack, when it comes to the player itself, he's coming into his sophomore season, a little more expectations. He got 3 minutes of playtime, I think. I think you saw there, Viggs. What does that kind of do to your psyche? I mean, oh, geez, I'm already out at the end of a first period.
Yeah, it's not ideal either because he was splitting back and forth between forward and defense last year quite a bit. If I recall that correctly, with all the injuries, I think he jumped up, or he was listed on the fourth line for a bunch of games I called. I feel like he was taking some forward shifts, or maybe one of the other guys. But yeah, it's your sophomore campaign. You're kind of jumping in. You're like, all right, this is the year. He's oddly enough, like kind of one of the veteran guys, I guess, on the back end, how it seems. And yeah, so that's a kick in the nuts. But it sounds like he's going to be okay, right? Jump back out there, get back on the horse. Hopefully it's nothing that's a lingering thing. I know some guys had lingering injuries last year where every 2 weeks they would kind of pop out of a game because of it. So let's hope it's not a lingering injury.
Now, Viggs, so a 6-3 win Friday night. They got down, had a kind of a rough second period there. Then they came back and disposed of Michigan Tech. It seemed pretty solid. As Luke Middlestead said, they kind of lift their game back in the defense because they were short back there and they had a lot of ice time. So at least that's part of the learning, I guess, for Bob.
Yeah, and they lost a lot of draws on Friday night, so I think that forced them to defend quite a bit more. I think Middlestead and Thomas were both approaching 30 minutes of ice time. There's a little bit of a ice time calculation drama out there because Sports Logic is the one that provides data to College Hockey News. I also got some Instat data. They differ quite a bit. So the stuff that you see on CHN probably doesn't reflect what actually happened in the game, because I talked to some people, and yeah, Thomas and Middlestead were playing upwards of 30 minutes both games. So they leaned really heavy on them, but they got the other young guys out there a little bit more. With Gruba going out, he's the only right shot D on the roster. And so it forces guys to play on their off hands. And I think that was something that Michigan Tech saw during Friday night and took advantage of a little bit more on Saturday. But it's something that Minnesota really had to battle through.
Now, Jack, 30 minutes or pushing 30 minutes, your first game of the season. Later in the year, doable. That's got to be tough first game of the season. No matter what people say, you are not in game shape yet.
No, you're definitely going to be feeling it. I mean, it's kind of hard to get into game shape. Game shape in college is just different than game shape in the pros anyway. The amount of games that you're playing, practices are so much harder. So I think you're probably more prepared for the season than you are walking into a pro season and playing like that. But that's a lot on your legs, and it's going to be interesting. I think those guys are going to be eating 28 minutes every single weekend this year. Wouldn't be shocked until all those guys kind of get caught up, and it might be a revolving door of, hey, which young gun is going and which one can you give 15 minutes to every night. But those guys, you're going to have to depend on them for a lot of minutes.
And now we move to the second night. Vigs, a 5-2 loss. Game started not so bad. Then Michigan Tech just kind of shut Minnesota down. I think they had like 3 shots in the second period, which included that long time where the Pascal stick was way in the corner. It was 4 or 5 minutes of gameplay where he was using another stick. So it was just chaos for them, and it showed on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I mean, the first period, Minnesota gets 4 shots, and they score on 3 of them.
Yeah.
Bob said after the game, he's like, we thought this was going to be an easy game. And in college hockey, when you win the first game of a series, the other team's going to be coming back hard the next night. And Minnesota took the foot off the gas a little bit. They had a hard time breaking out pucks. Now, I don't know if it's because they had all left shot D back there, but it kind of looked like Michigan Tech was trying to take away that left side and really force Minnesota up the right side. And Minnesota got a little disconnected there at times. They had a hard time getting out of their zone. And then when they got in the neutral zone, they had a hard time getting the puck even in the Michigan Tech zone. I can't remember the last time Minnesota only had 13 shots on goal. A tough night for the Gophers, and Michigan Tech got a lot of players, a lot of experience, and they're not going to be an easy out.
Biggs, kind of going off of that, I remember you saying, I don't know if it was in person or on the podcast last week, that kind of a key this year for defensemen is being able to break that puck out and making that first pass is key. You kind of made a big deal out of it, and you also said that if you can't do that, you're not going to play as much.
Especially when you get behind. If you get behind and the other team's setting up structure and you're not able to get out of your zone clean, you are basically not having very much possession, and it's hard to create offense in those situations because you're going to have to get out under pressure. You're going to make a bad dump probably where you're not going to have an advantage with pace and a established forecheck. You're going to have teams that get tired, and you might have skilled players who start chasing offense. So it's just a really bad recipe if you can't break out pucks quickly with speed. And that was kind of one of the differences between Friday and Saturday is Minnesota was able to show their speed on Friday. Saturday, they did not look like a very fast team. And that's something I know already this week in practice they're getting to work on. How do we get north faster? How do we get out of our zone with speed? And sometimes that ends up being the forwards have to be deeper. And so they're going to have to work harder to get out. But it's something they might have to work on as they try to figure this out.
Jack, one thing I thought was fun this weekend was the fact that it was an old WCHA foe that some of us older guys love to see coming back in. They're one of the last teams that Minnesota hadn't played from the old WCHA, and then they're making a return trip next year, which I love. I don't think you ever had the chance to play Michigan Tech, did you? You were all Big Ten, weren't you?
Yeah, all Big Ten. Never got Michigan Tech. I'm trying to think back through. I'd have to go through the old WCHA list and figure out who I didn't play. I don't think I got them. There's a few others, but no, it was always one you got up for too. And I don't know, the guys are getting younger and younger, so and less and less Minnesota guys too. So you're probably seeing like the final few waves of guys that probably watched WCHA hockey, even, as they were kids growing up. So it's going to be interesting. I think like 5 years down the road, these kids are really going to get up for the Big Ten rivalries because it's all they've known, which that's kind of cool in its own right.
Yes, I would agree with that. But then on top of the nostalgia, we had Frank Mazzocco call-in games, Vigs, which was just fun. Yeah, his voice was a little ragged. It was sounding a little better on Saturday, and you could tell it's been 15 years since he's called a game. But oh boy, the first thing I saw, he's like, Jim Rich is on assignment, and he was just like, it just seems like the voice might not have been there exactly, but the bicycle did kind of kick in for him fairly well.
Frank is a pro, and I would say pros know how to get back to their game. Even if it's not their A game, they've always got a B game to go to. And he and Pat were going back and forth on this year's team. A lot of new players for anyone to get used to out there for the Gophers. So I think it was, a challenge in that way, but it was fun to hear him calling goals, especially on the Friday game.
And he did tell a story, Jack, that it took 4 or 5 guys to replace me on radio last year. So, and I think they even showed a shot of Wally calling the game, who was Tanner. Tanner Hoops was in there last weekend, so that was fun. You spent a year off and on calling games. How you feeling about this year? It's kind of sounds like the same kind of setup.
Yeah, same setup. Each guy is going to get Sam, Eric, Tanner, myself. We're all going to get 2 or 3 games. So worked pretty well last year. So I'm excited for it again. Not going to be going for another few weeks here until Notre Dame. It's like how many times am I going to call Notre Dame? I'm only doing 3 series a year, but I got them in the playoffs, got them in the regular season last year. So I don't have good luck with them, but it'll be good. It'll be the same, I'm sure, nerves of when I walked in the doors for the first time going, I don't really know what the hell I'm doing here. And we'll figure it out after the first period. And, Frank's a pro and Wally's a pro too. So lean on him as my crutch and, make him talk, middle stat minutes. He can do 45 minutes on the mic and I'll get about, 15 in there.
Yeah, it's time for a commercial read. Yeah, you do this right now. You got to do this right now. That's kind of how it is. So, it's fun to have all 4 of you back this year, kind of filling in for Frank, which is quite the deal. I've got a couple notes here. So, Viggs Gruba he'll be back. Do we know anything about Mo and Townsend yet? The 2 others who have not played a game yet.
We don't officially know. The media availability this year is a day after our live podcast.
Yep.
So we don't get the official update. Mason Mo was back skating today, though, and Leo Gruba was back skating. I don't have any idea on their availability yet. If it's a week-to-week thing, if it's more than that. But those are the guys that we're keeping an eye on. Townsend's still not back yet.
You were really impressed with Mo at the summer showcase, weren't you?
Yeah, I think he adds a lot as a player to the lineup. I wasn't expecting as much when he committed. I seemed like maybe a lower profile guy that could take longer to get to campus, but he had a great end of the year last year in the USCHL or USHL. And then with the World Junior Summer Showcase, even talking with him, he's like, I don't know if I expected to be in this camp, but I'm just trying to take everything in that I can. He said he hadn't played a lot of PK, but when he got to the camp, the coaches are like, hey, if you're going to be on this team, you got to pick up the PK role. I thought he did that well during the showcase, and I think he adds some flexibility. I think if Minnesota needs someone to play center as injuries happen or little nicks and bruises, he's a guy who can step in and do that. And I think he's put on good size the last couple of years to prepare himself for college hockey.
And Jack, really, every player is different. Some guys just all of a sudden get to that level right away. Sometimes, like we had, we've got Mo. We have Nyes just a couple of years ago who really not a lot of news. And then they kind of pop for the games. And then you've got guys you got like a Nate Schmidt who popped long after, he got after to Minnesota. So it's just, you just never know. So that makes, kind of scouting these guys difficult.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of all about opportunity too. I mean, I remember my first 2 weeks of the season, my freshman year, like I knew who I was going in. I was a penalty kill type guy. And then second week of the year when we played Duluth, I was playing with Camerata and Klus on the first line because coaches told me I was practicing, really well. And I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting this. Second period, I was back on fourth line. But I got the opportunity, and I wasn't expecting that. So some of these guys can come in, they can do really, really well in practice. They can, they're playing with the best players that they've ever played with in their life. And for a lot of guys that can unlock whole other, abilities that they might have not known about. So it's really fun to see which freshman will pop off like that. Sometimes you're going to have a star freshman. Doesn't turn out the way you expect it, but now you have a guy that you didn't expect to be good and is. And same thing with juniors and seniors. Like they might pop off all of a sudden this year. So it's exciting to see who it might be.
Well, and I think one thing about Bob Mosko rosters he just has 14 forwards on this roster. So there's opportunity for guys to pop into the lineup when injuries happen. The other thing with the 14 forward roster is Moscow often encourages one of the star players to take that extra shift with that last group of forwards. So they get double practice time, and the players at the bottom of the lineup get to work with a really skilled player who's got really good habits, who's good with the puck, puts the puck in places for them to have success in practice and give them a little bit more confidence. So I think that's one of the philosophies with this roster. And Moscow, as he showed this weekend, he wants to play everybody early and give them some opportunity to show what they can do and also put their game on film so they can look, hey, these are things you need to work on, or these are the things you're doing well. And I think it's just one thing with Minnesota for the fans. Be a little patient as these opportunities come and go for these players.
Viggs, how do you think the freshmen did this past weekend?
Well, I think the forwards played pretty well on Friday. I thought they got into transition pretty well. I thought they made a lot of smart plays with the puck. I thought they got pucks deep and got in on the forecheck, and they played fast. So that was really impressive to see on Friday. Saturday, a little bit of a step back. They were playing with maybe, the foot off the gas in the second and couldn't get it back. And it just takes that, sometimes you got to go to your B game. We talked about it with announcers. It happens for players too. When things aren't going right, you got to find a way to make it a little bit more simple and give yourself a chance to get back into it. And I think they struggled with that Saturday. And, with Minnesota, it's a learning lesson. And you can't learn all the time and win all the time. Sometimes you're going to have to take an L too.
Got Greg on Facebook. Have you talked about the Mooney kid yet? No, we haven't. What do you think, Viggs? He did flash. He did a lot of great passing. Maybe the guys couldn't connect on some of those passes, but I think he did fairly well.
Yeah, I thought he flashed his skill and he flashed his, acceleration, from 50-50 starts. He showed that he can pull away from guys and make plays. I think maybe he was getting too fancy at times rather than making some more direct plays. You heard some of the players talk about this week, just calm him down and let him find his game. It's not going to come easy in college hockey. He got, on the scorebook, but I don't think he quite flashed like he wanted to. Like, heck, even Gavin McKenna, I think just had a goal and 2 assists. It's not like he took over college hockey right from day one. It takes a little bit of time, I think, with the size, the speed, and the structure that you see in college hockey.
Speaking of Gavin McKenna, Jack, what do you think about this craziness about him so far? I mean, the NHL Network picked up 2 games they would have never picked up ever.
Right. I mean, on one side of the coin, it's great for the visibility and the fandom of college hockey. I have no issue, and we talked about this last year too, when it was kind of more clouded and mystery and stuff. And I like the idea of the CHL guys coming over. I have no problem with that. I think it makes sense. I don't like the idea of all these guys that were on PTO or ECHL. Now it's not 20 of them, but guys that were playing AHL and ECHL games, that's mind-boggling to me that these guys are allowed back in college hockey.
I recall getting a Twitter message from you. You're like, what is this? And it's, how do you feel about it, Viggs? I mean, boy, it's tough. But
it doesn't make any sense to me.
The NCAA is just kind of bending to almost everything right now.
I think they're so worried about a lawsuit that would come their way and they'd have no control over it that they're quicker to just say, oh, it's okay. But I definitely agree with Jack. I think once you sign a professional contract and play professional games, that's not just like a tryout, especially in the AHL and the ECHL, like American pro hockey. I feel like that's a line. That's like the Rubicon line that you can't cross for amateur athletics.
It is what it is. Something we're gonna have to live with. We already had people complaining, Viggs. This Gopher team's going nowhere. They didn't get any CHL players. Hardly. I mean, they could have got way more in the portal and blah blah blah. I think Bob's just doing the wait and see, isn't he, Viggs?
Well, they do have that 26 spot open this year. So if there were to be something more serious, Gruber's going to be back. But if there was like a serious injury, it opens the door for Minnesota to add someone mid-season. Not a lot of other teams kept an open spot to do that with. So it's kind of a unique thing that the Minnesota coaching staff did for this year. I think it makes sense. Some of the guys who are on bubble maybe coming to campus or playing that extra year junior, like Maceo Phillips and Jacob Gwasnicka, they get to play lots of games. They get to play high roles. If they came early, not an option for them. They would have to sit and bide their time and wait. So I think we see if you play, that's better. Now, if there are major injuries, are those the two guys that they would pull? I don't know for sure. It kind of depends on everything going on. Is it someone we're not even thinking of? That could be an option too.
Oh, that's a good one. I was just going to ask about this, Matthew Dietz. How is Minnesota limited to 26 spots, but Michigan Tech had 31 on their roster? Isn't there some kind of grandfathering going on, Viggs?
There's a grandfathering rule. So if you had guys who were coming back, the NCAA didn't want to kick them off the roster. This was probably more common in like cross country and track and field. So the rules are very fuzzy for teams like that, with guys staying on the roster versus guys who already signed their national letters of intent. With Minnesota, they don't have extra guys really committed, so they didn't go over.
All right, well, it makes sense. Just kind of curious about it.
Could it be also like or what I thought I read and what I'm kind of looking at here? If a team doesn't opt into NIL, then they can also have the additional roster spots.
It's kind of fuzzy like that as well. So there's different ways to go over the limit. There's grandfathering rules, and there's that. A school like Minnesota doesn't have the option because they're in the Power Four, so they have to be opted in. Schools that don't have D1 football, like Michigan Tech, they're also in the fringe there. North Dakota, Denver, they have kind of the same thing going. It's complicated.
It's goofy. I'm still surprised maybe they didn't go to 26, but we'll have to wait and see if there.
But you don't know who you need. If you're going to lose a forward, you don't want to have 13 if someone's out for the season. If you lose one of your top two goalies, it's kind of a lot of eggs in one basket just to have one. You'd want to have the option to bring in another. So I think it was kind of unique for Minnesota to do it that.
Is the door open to picking up a random CHL guy who's not committed to a college team mid-year?
Yep. They have total flexibility with who they could add. They could come back from World Juniors, and someone who maybe didn't want to go to the NCAA because they thought it would hurt their chance on the World Junior team. Now they could come play at Minnesota the second half. It's wide open.
It's just crazy. It just boggles my mind how crazy.
Come to St. Paul for the World Juniors, stay for college.
Like, could the Gophers go pick up, Michael Brodzinski or something, halfway through the year if they want to?
He might have exceeded the number of games that are okay, but someone brought it up, like Connor Kurth could probably come back if he plays, a few enough games, but I don't know if we'll see that happen.
Well, we talked about Kurth. He did graduate. It's, maybe he could have played another year and got more schooling, but he'll have fun in the AHL or wherever he ends up. So what do you do, Viggs? What do you do? All right, Viggs, we need to talk about one of our sponsors in Gateway Fiber North Side. Something you should be looking at.
Yeah, I mean, we rely on fiber internet for our podcasts. You should too, because in Minnesota, we're the state of hockey, and a bad internet connection is like a bad line change. It slows everything down, causes chaos, might even lose you the game. So don't be that guy. Make sure you got full speed internet at Gateway Fiber. And, it's not just a provider. They're on your team. Visit gatewayfiber.com or call 1-800-201-4339 to see if Gateway Fiber is available in your area, because life's too short for bad internet.
Definitely too short for bad internet. We don't like that. All right, Vigo's top 20 for this week. Not a lot of change among the top 8 there. We expect zero change.
This is the top 8 I went with at the start of the year. Penn State was the one team in this group that played significant games. They looked pretty good. Did they look better than teams I had ahead of them? Hard to know. I thought Penn State showed a lot of depth and skill against Arizona State. Impressive win for their MPI standing to start the year, and good for the Big Ten.
Quinnipiac with a jump after they had some luck against Boston College. Michigan jumping up. Minnesota, obviously, and Boston College dropping down. One interesting note, the Gopher Game Notes saw that this is the first time in like forever Minnesota and BC and one will not be in the top 10, Vigs.
Yeah, I think both teams have a lot of draft picks, a lot of young players, a lot of question marks. BC lost their goalie that they leaned on very heavily. They lost some high-end talents as well. And they played a tough game. Quinnipiac's one of those schools that brought in one of those ex-professionals, and he scored a goal in that game.
Oh.
So leave it to the Bobcats at Quinnipiac to take advantage of that rule.
And everyone just kind of jumped up a little bit, Figs. Obviously, Arizona State went down. You kept your Sacred Heart in there, and then you added Michigan Tech.
I had Michigan Tech. I think I would have heard from the Misfits had I not included them in the top 20. Michigan Tech looked very good on Saturday. Again, as we said earlier in the podcast, holding the Gophers to 13 shots is quite the achievement. I think some of it was self-inflicted by Minnesota, but good showing for Bill McCalton, his first series behind the bench with them.
All right. There was
one thing I thought that was interesting in my top 20 that someone pointed out to me. Where's Minnesota, Duluth, and St. Cloud State?
I don't see them. Do you, Jack?
I don't see them.
Wait. No, they're not under there.
So we saw Minnesota team.
I found him.
Oh, geez.
Oh, wow. I love that.
So I think it'll be interesting because St. Thomas looks like they could be pretty good this year. They're a team on the rise. Minnesota, Duluth, St. Cloud rebuilding. Minnesota State, they look okay. One team to watch, I think, on my top 20 that's not on there right now, probably Wisconsin. They had a really good week at Lindenwood. I know it's still Lindenwood, new coach, a lot of turnover. But if Tassie and Fitzgerald can rebound from kind of subpar seasons last year, team to watch.
Well, didn't Schlossman put them up quite high in the Big Ten?
He has them quite high nationally. So maybe Schloss has heard something. They didn't look very good last year, but as Penn State showed, you can rebound after midseason.
All right, let's get to some questions here. I saw this one earlier from our guy Steve Larson. Thoughts on the goaltending this past weekend?
Not a strength. Not really a strength for Minnesota. I didn't think either goalie played particularly well. They didn't look bad. I thought Erie had the bad rebound that he gave up a goal on. Luka is so. So team can improve there. I think they'll be fine, but not a great weekend.
Yeah, not. Oh, not at all. I'm a little concerned about that. Jack, did you have any terrible goalies? I mean, how bad was Shearhorn, really?
Eric always tells me he wasn't as good as I remember him as, but I was like, no, Eric was the best goalie ever.
He was pretty good.
Big Ten, I don't know. It'll be that extra roster spot too. Who knows? That's probably the easiest position to fill without really messing things up as a goalie. Not that, who knows that, but I feel like that's the biggest or the easiest way to get goalies now is probably to dip your hand into the CHL pond. I can't recall who it was, but somebody went like 50-4 last year in the CHL. If you recall what team he's playing, he had a shutout first night this weekend. Oh, but that's
I remember the storyline of the goalie, but I can't remember. Boston University added a goalie midseason last year. He got him into the Frozen Four. That shows that you can get a player like that.
Yeah. So
Mariucci Maniac's like he's saving a spot for Cooley when he comes back. I mean, he didn't want the 9 million that he turned down at Utah.
Can't sign it. He's gonna make more than that NIL next year.
There's no NIL at Minnesota. It's just they're trying. They're definitely trying. A lot of weird stuff going on with the collectives right now that it's just gonna take a while for them to figure out. It's just the little change late in the year. It's kind of out of their hands, with the Golden Helmet Collective right now.
Yeah, we'll see. It will come at some point in Minnesota. I think as an institution, the university has the budget deficit they have to figure out this year, and they've got some debts they got to pay. So it's probably not the top priority on Mark Coyle's desk. And if you look at the recruiting class that Motzko has coming down the line, it obviously isn't hurting them that much.
I think you have to give Lacombe a call. Right, start writing some checks. Now these guys are all cashing in, nice. Hey, how are you guys doing?
I was joking that instead of saying how many Gophers made opening night rosters in the NHL, they should say how much Gophers are getting paid in the NHL.
Yeah.
Based on some of the deals that Nyes and Faber and Lacombe are signing. It's pretty impressive to see.
It's tough. And they all live together here in the summer, it seems like. Was it Nyes is with Lacombe and Snuggerud during the summer, and they train together. We should get them down to you practicing. Do pros still do that? Or are they still, back in my day, they used to all hang out at the Bloomington Ice Garden years ago.
Yeah, a lot of them still skate at the U, and a lot of them still work out with Cal Dietz too in the off season. It's big for some of those guys. They built up the trust and seen the results, and they keep going.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure Nyes does that.
Mote, isn't the TV money going to solve that issue? This is where it's tricky, though, Viggs, and where it's troublesome for the Big Ten because they have to play that 21 million, don't they? That's
eventually
it's coming out of kind of the TV.
Yeah, eventually the TV money is going to continue to increase, and the U's budget should zero out and be okay again. It's just it's a little ahead of the curve. It's kind of like the Wild paying Kaprizov. The cap is going up, but they're committed now to that AAV. So it's kind of like that for Gophers. And
didn't McDavid take a smaller paycheck?
12 and a half a year.
Yeah.
Gave him 3 years. Which it'd be interesting to be in that position. Hey, I've already made, I don't know what he's probably made by now, 60, 70 million or something like that, probably. What's an extra 2.5 or what's an extra 7 over 2 years? It's a shit ton of money. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but to somebody that already has $70 or $80 million and really wants a cup, there's guys that obviously want that $8 million more. And I'm not saying that they don't want to win if they take that money, but man, why would you Crosby? Well, there's so many examples that you can look back on in different sports. Brady, that Florida has a bunch of guys I think on team friendly deals, but they have the tax advantage. Man,
but the thing is, do they really? You start paying those property taxes and those insurance costs down there. At least for us more common people, you lose it all there. So
right.
What do you do? Matthew Dietz, another quick question here. The possibility of adding that equity partner, I think that might just kill everything but football, Viggs.
Well, and I think it would take away some of what makes the Big Ten doing it. I know that's been brought up, but I almost think I've heard that the Big Ten has taken some of those ideas and be like, we don't need the money to do that. We've got donors who can help us get over the top there. So I think private equity would be a iffy thing for college athletics to get into. They rely so much on donors. So
I hope they don't go that direction. It's already gotten bad enough as it is, Viggs. What do you do? But one thing we're going to do is we talk about Cub now. Viggs, we drove right by your Cub Foods twice this week. One's heading up north and one's coming back down. And Barbie upstairs, she goes, there's Viggs. Cub Foods.
That is my Cub Foods. It's fall. Cubs got you covered. If you're looking for the apples, Cubs got all of them. If you're looking for pumpkin spice, check it out. The bakery's got all kinds of stuff from muffins to breads to cakes to donuts. They got everything pumpkin. If you're baking, if you're hosting game day, we've got homecoming this weekend for the University of Minnesota. Get some tailgate stuff there. It's going to feel like fall finally. So swing by your local Cub, stock up with all your seasonal favorites because nothing says fall in Minnesota like comfort food from Cub. Shop happy.
All right, guys. Boston College coming into Mariucci this Thursday, Friday because of homecoming Vigs. Do we know, is there a trip heading out there next year or within the next couple of years?
I believe that's the intention to get back out there. I don't have the contract yet. The year's been a little slow on some of this stuff. Sometimes these contracts get signed kind of late in the process. So that explains
like last year. Yeah.
Last year, there were still contracts being signed in September. So I wouldn't doubt that there's an issue there. But I think they're making a return trip out there, just like they're going back to Houghton next year. I just don't know the dates. But exciting game to have on the schedule. I think I've heard from all of GPL that they want to play teams like Boston College. They want to play teams like BU. They want to play Denver. Well, here you go. Big series coming up. A lot of players that are competing for World Junior spots will be in town with BC. I know Brody Zemer is looking forward to this one. He's got a lot of buddies that he's got text threads with leading into this weekend. So they've got it circled on the calendar.
Which of those series did you get? Did you get any of those big East Coast schools coming out to play, Jack?
We went out. We did Northeastern, I think Friday night, and then we did Boston College Saturday night.
I remember. Yeah. Okay.
Little road trip. I think it was over Thanksgiving. That's really the only East Coast trip that I kind of recall. I think that we ever did. Otherwise, maybe people coming in. We never played BC. Otherwise, trying to think back, we really didn't have any great non-conference games. North Dakota, you throw those guys in the mix and stuff like that. But outside of the old WCHA, there wasn't really any of those fun East Coast ones. But this one will be really fun. Just a couple of blue bloods going at each other. And I mean, the non-conference schedule, like you said, Veek's really, really fun this year. And I think with the new ranking system, the way I understood it, at least, is that strength of schedule matters a lot. So even if the Gophers don't do well in this non-conference schedule against really tough opponents, it's not going to kill them. So I think it's really going to help the team towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I feel like in the old pairwise, these interconference games were important more for your conference almost than for you because it impacted so many pairwise comparisons. I wonder if MPI is going to reflect an individual school's non-conference schedule more than just the conference. So that'll be something interesting to shake out. But I think, Jack, when you were playing, the coaching staff was so concerned with playing the local schools, after the breakup of the WCHA, they wanted to play Minnesota Duluth, wanted to play St. Cloud, wanted to play Minnesota State, wanted to play Bemidji, wanted to play North Dakota. You only get so many non-conference games. You get 10 or 11. So kind of a challenging transition, I think, in scheduling when you signed on.
Well, Viggs, there was a very quiet period in the late 90s and early 2000s where I remember Cardinal did an article years ago on GPL, how Minnesota never goes east. At the time, for a span of 7-8 years, maybe even more, the furthest east they went was to Ohio State, and that was before they were even in the conference. You had that one series where they closed BU's arena and opened up their new arena. But other than that, they hadn't really done anything. So I would love to see them go to, for 2 to BC next year, maybe over Thanksgiving or something like that. I think a lot of fans would be interested in making that trip.
Yeah, when I've talked to Bob about some of his scheduling philosophy, he wants someone who plays 3 years to have one trip out east, one trip out west, and if you stay 4 years, maybe get a trip to Alaska. Those are kind of some of his philosophies with scheduling. So, you get that East team that you go out to play them 1 year, the next year you get them home. One year you go out west, the next year you get them home, and then you mix in that Alaska because of the bonus games.
So what are you looking forward to this week with these games, Jack? You know, like I said, big names coming in. I love CBC here. They'll be on Big Ten Network as a part of a doubleheader Thursday night. So a lot of the country can see these games.
Yeah, there's just kind of a special buzz in the air when you play these historic teams, and I'm not going to call it a historic rivalry, but a lot of games in the past. So when you do play these ones, it's easy to get up for. I think it's easy to get up for the fans. But every year, the first month of the season is so fun, especially with a team like this that's very, very young. And bring a lot of guys in, is you just get to find out so much. Each game is like a little gift wrap package that you just don't know what you're going to get. You know, is this going to be the Mooney breakout game? Is he going to be stud? You know, is Moore going to pop a few tonight? So it's just kind of fun and a mystery each weekend. And this will be a good test. I think people are going to have to be probably patient with a young team here. But I think we're going to be pretty happy with what we have down the road.
Well, you know, Big Ten Network is taking advantage of this week because obviously they don't have a lot of programming on Thursday nights. The volleyball's more, Wednesdays and Fridays, and so they're doing a doubleheader. That's why Minnesota's game is moving to 8 p.m. It's going to be, I believe, it's Clarkson and Penn State. They're going to do a 30-minute pregame for that. Rick Pizzo is going to be in Hockey Valley for that. And our guy Cappy will be in the studio with, I believe it's Mike Hall. You've got, I believe, Dan Kelly, and we've got Dan Kelly's calling the game here. So early in the season, kind of similar to last year, Big Ten Network picked up a game early. They're trying to get some excitement built.
Yeah, and I think this is a good series. Anytime you get a lot of guys from Boston, Minnesota playing against each other, brings back that miracle vibe. Jack, I'm sure in your household that's something you cherish a little bit. So I think it'll be fun hockey with Stiga and Hagens having their relationship with Zemer. I think that'll be interesting to watch. Those three probably are aligned for the World Juniors. They're probably the best line in all the camp this summer. They've got a lot of chemistry together, so that'll be fun to watch. And I just think both teams are working through their new rosters for this year. So it's a good matchup from that standpoint. You sometimes have these older teams that Minnesota plays that are well established and they don't have as many question marks. They're not developing as many young players. Both these teams are developing still. So they're both going to make mistakes. You're going to see a lot of transition, a lot of college hockey fun stuff to see with goal scoring. And that's what makes this series so great to see.
Well, Jack, that's what makes college hockey fun to say, is because there are the mistakes. There are these just huge shifts. And that's probably why I love the college hockey better than the program, just because of how crazy it is.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. You don't know which one of these guys could be, a Tyler Sheehy. He could be an All-American next year, or they could pop off this year. It's just so exciting. That's why, same thing, all college sports, college football, college hockey, college baseball, everything. All the storylines, it's all the rivalries mean more. You only get a certain amount of games, and everything just means more.
And I think the coaching for BC, Greg Brown, he's on Bob's staff for the World Juniors. They see the game in a similar way. Greg Brown's one of those coaches that really promotes those transition defensemen. That's modern hockey. That's stuff you want to watch. Seeing those D join the rush and get in on the offense. We should see a lot of it this weekend.
So what are your predictions, Viggs? How are you feeling about this series?
Well, last week I got some flack from my Michigan Tech acquaintances because I said 75% chance the Gophers sweep. And I thought that because I thought Minnesota was essentially a lock to win on Friday because it was their home opener, a lot of juice, a lot of question marks for Michigan Tech. But then I worried that next game was a 50-51 because it's always hard to sweep in college hockey. We saw that with CC and UConn this last weekend. CC had a great night the first night, not so good the next. So I think, unfortunately, this looks like a split for me. I think both teams are even. I don't think Minnesota really is on a roll right now. I think there's question marks. I think Gruber is going to be back for the weekend. I saw him doing some conditioning skating today. It looked fine through that. So I think Minnesota is going to be healthy. I think we do see the lines get shuffled up a little bit for Minnesota this weekend based on what I saw today. So expect some changes there, some new combinations. I think they're trying to spread things out maybe a little bit more. Coming into the season, it seemed like there was definitely a checking line in the line chart. I think this weekend they want to spread it out and get some different guys going.
Jack, I'd like to see a checking line too. A punishing line. Get out there and let them know you're there.
100%. You can't have 4 lines of skilled players. I mean, we do have a bit of a skilled drop off. I will say more compared to last year. Dropping down that line chart. So guys are going to have to fill in roles. You were talking kind of about Mo figuring out the penalty kill. That's maybe how he's going to get in the roster and stay there. Some of these guys are going to have to throw their bodies around, block shots, and kill penalties. And coach is going to like that. There's not a lot of forwards, so everybody you could be in the lineup or out the lineup the next night. So everybody's going to be vying kind of for that that line spot. So yeah, give me a checking line. We got to punish people a little bit. Can't have everybody stick handling.
I agree. Let them know you're there, Viggs, but a little muscle in it. You get them thinking when they're coming up the ice. It's not so smooth if I'm getting my butt plastered into the boards.
I think that was one of the things I noticed about LJ Mooney on Friday was he was throwing his body around a couple times. Mm-hmm. I think just to kind of get in the game, he threw the body thinking, okay, I want to get into this and show that I can hit too. So I think that's good for some of the young guys. I think we saw Javon Moore do that a little bit. I think there's more to his game than he showed this last weekend. I thought he was maybe a little cautious at times. So I think, showing his physicality in the right way, this would be a good weekend to do it.
All right, guys. Anything else? He's already thinking about Taco Bell. Look at that.
Yeah. Which one?
Any final thoughts then, Viggs?
Big weekend ahead. I think we see Mo in the lineup, assuming everything goes well with him in his week back from injury.
Okay.
It was a short-term thing. He did skate last week quite a bit, but just had get held out down the stretch. So I think we see him in the lineup soon.
All right. And thanks for joining us again, Jack. You're up to number 5 now. You're ahead of Shearhorn, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters at the end of the day. But who's keeping track? I have a whiteboard right there that tallies it.
Well, of course, yes. Thank you for coming on, and we're going to keep coming back. You're ready for some overtime, aren't you? Of course,
yes, sir.
Right?
Oh, yeah. That's this. I'm not even here for the first part.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of the GPL podcast. We'll be back next week when Brad Schlossman of the Grand Forks Herald joins the show as we preview the Gophers heading up to Grand Forks for a fun series. For those of you watching live on YouTube or X, stay tuned for overtime. For the rest of you, we'll catch you next week on the GPL podcast. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and get notified each time we go live or post a video. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please rate our show and leave a review. For those of you watching live, you know what's next. It's Vigo's Beverage of the Week. It's time for overtime. Look at that. He's going Guinness tonight.
Well, I saw Jack on his travel abroad have a couple of these Guinnesses. He's trying to split the G. So I don't know if Jack was on board with that tonight, but I was like,
man,
I don't know.
Looks so good.
I gotta let it settle before I drink it. So,
man, I just started searching liquor stores near me just to see if one's still open because I was like, Sonny, can you go get some Guinnesses?
It's 9 or 10 o'clock's usually about it.
Yeah, they're shutting down at 10, but 4 minutes away. Catherine, get over there. You get 3. Yeah, Guinness looks really good though.
Yeah, that'll win you points.
The
I got
only
two.
the only thing with my Guinness is this is a glass actually from England, but it's so old because I haven't been there in like 20 years, maybe 23 years, that all the labels are off. So I can't even split the G. So
You know, like just
sorry,
like a
Jack.
silver Sharpie, mark it off
Right.
just so you can get an idea for it. Yeah, I went like 2 for 9 when I was there. You know, 1 for 9, but I was at Minnesota Valley Country Club last week, and I went 1 for 1. So I figured it out. One of my old teammates from the East Coast League commented on one of my Instagram stories, and he's like, "It's a gulp, gulp, sip, sip." He's like, "You're doing whatever wrong," and I was like, "Okay, all right." And then my next one I did was like gulp, gulp, sip, sip, and I got it. And I was like, "No way, okay." All right. So, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to pick. I'm picking split too. I mean, split to maybe less than a split. I'm not feeling great yet. They got to show me some things first.
You just don't know, right? You don't know if BC is good too. It's like sometimes these blue bloods have an odd off year as well.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? People are already so down on this team, though. It feels
Oh
like
man,
one weekend.
I saw him ripping on Rambach, and his feet are terrible. I'm like, I can't skate. And I remember when Johnny Pole couldn't skate, Vigs. I mean, come on.
Remember when Johnny Pole's kid committed to Wisconsin?
Oh,
yeah.
man,
Well,
that's gotta be. I thought about bringing that up for the show, but I'm like, I better not.
I think they wear red when they play.
I bet they
Yeah.
wear black. They wear one of those like NHL scouting outfits.
Yeah.
All black logo.
Minnesota Wild jacket or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the big rumor is that they're really controlling. It's like, oh, who wasn't going to be controlling of your own kid and stuff like that? But I can imagine that would be a lot of pressure for her, Vigs, to come to Minnesota, and even more pressure on the staff with two legends always on them. That's something to think about.
Yeah, it's a tough call, and Wisconsin, Ohio State, I think have had the edge the last couple of years in women's college hockey. So there's been a lot of good players from the state who have made those choices. So it's probably a concerning trend if you're a big Gopher women's hockey fan. So
they're there every year, though. It's like
they're in it. Yeah,
it's obviously different. The parity's not there, so they have the chance to be in it every year. But wonder what it takes to get over the hump. But like the record against Wisconsin in like the last 4 or 5 years is
maybe a win a year.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
It seems like they upset them sometimes in the final five or final four, whatever it is. Frozen face-off, I think, whatever it is. Well, play on words, whatever they do these days. So did you go over to the Vikings games or something like that?
No, I was there at the end of August, beginning of September.
Oh.
That would have been great though. My cousins actually went over there for 30 hours, 24 hours, like last minute booked it. They came back, said it was fun, said they kind of regretted it though. It's just like, what's going on kind of thing. But yeah, went London for about 4.5 days, Paris for 4 days. We did Normandy for the D-Day tours for a full day of Normandy. So that was really
how did you do on that? I would find it very difficult
to emotionally, or
yes, it's just got to be just so amazing, but just so draining. I don't know how I would explain it.
It was. I mean, we had a really, really good guide. I think that kind of it wasn't all this is who died here, this is who died here, this is who died here kind of thing. Like it was highlights and bravery stories and stuff like that. And going to the different beaches, like going to Omaha Beach, we were there early in the morning. There was only like 5 people the whole stretch of the beach, and yeah, just it hit you hard. And then going over to right next to it is the U.S. cemetery over there. And like that was the cry moment of seeing all the MIA things and stuff like that. And they're still finding people too, which was really, really cool. And every time they find somebody, they punch like a star next to their name.
Really?
So they're still finding people out there, finding bones. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty wild. A kid. There's like a kid from it's like 4 years ago, a kid, like great grandson went over there, had an idea of where his great grandfather might have died, and ended up kind of solving this cold case and figuring out kind of where he might have been, and they figured it out. So pretty crazy stuff. Really, really recommend it. If you're gonna go to Paris, it's so easy to get out there. We took a train at 6 a.m., a 2-hour train out there, got picked up and then did the whole tour and got dropped off back at the train station or dropped off in the town at like 5:30 and then walked over to the train station and got back to Paris at like 8. So really, really cool. I'd like to go back and make it a full trip because one day was definitely not enough. And I didn't know Normandy is like a state. I thought, I learned so much. I thought it was a city, or like one place kind of thing. Normandy is like a whole state. So I'd like to go up and see.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's like it's a whole state. So go see different things. And found out my ancestors that are originally from the northern part of Normandy, in the town that was like the first failed U.S. invasion. So it was really interesting to ask the tour guide that's from there about that and stuff. And they migrated over to I think Quebec and then Wisconsin. So very interesting to kind of piece all these things together when I was there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely a trip I'd love to do, but boy, like you said, it's got to tear at you too. That's just, you think how grim. I mean, just watch the first opening minutes of Saving Private Ryan. It's like, holy shit. That is just off
the most mind-boggling thing. I didn't know. So Omaha Beach, there's all the beaches that they stormed is about a 60-mile stretch of beaches on D-Day. But that part of Normandy, where the ocean is, it's the second highest or second biggest tide rise and fall in the world. And so when we went there, it was high tide at Omaha Beach, and our tour guide's like, yeah, look at the buoys out there. That's about like halfway. And I'm like, to where the low tide is. I'm like, what? No, that's like half a mile. No chance. And then when we went to Utah Beach around like 2-3 o'clock, sure shit, it's like a mile out there. And I was like, I thought these guys had to storm, 300 yards of beach. I'm like, no, they had to do like 3/4 of a mile of beach. That last fun fact, I just thought this was so interesting. They missed a bombing run on Omaha Beach that was supposed to put craters in the beach, so they were able to hop from hole to hole.
Yeah.
And so they missed the bombing run, so that's why there was the mass casualties. And then over at Utah Beach, they had a successful bombing run, and they only lost, I should say only, but compared to otherwise, they only lost like 200 men storming that beach. Because by the time they hit the beaches, everything was already decimated. So just a missed bombing run was kind of the reason behind all of the devastation on D-Day for that beach.
Great stuff.
That's
facts. Great stuff.
Yeah, fun, sad, but really, really interesting facts. So.
Yeah. Now that we brought us all down.
Yeah.
No, I love those type of stories. My grandfather on my dad's side, he was too young then. His first action was later in the war, but he was at the front lines of the Battle of the Bulge, that last kind of push by Germany, and he was captured during that. So I mean, it was a thing. Also, he thought he saw people coming out. It was really dark. It was cold. The winter was awful. He thought he saw people coming up on him, but they couldn't quite tell. So they didn't shoot. And probably not shooting saved him and his partner's lives, because all of a sudden there was 50 guys there. And if they would have shot, they would have been shot back at. They were captured then. He noted that these kids were probably 16, 17 years old because towards the end of the war, that's all Germany could use. First thing they asked, give me your chocolate. Give me your chocolate. They knew that GIs had chocolate on them and that could use that for energy because they were starving, the German soldiers. So, and he told me this whole story just, about 10 years ago. And I had recording of a lot of it, of when he was, captured and stuff like that. It was just, you think of our problems today, that it's just nothing compared to, previous generations. So,
being 18, figuring out where I want to go off to college and go party and go play hockey or go to juniors and stuff. You could have been storming the beaches of Normandy instead.
yeah. It's quite the thing.
Crazy. But
So yeah, Biggs, I didn't know you didn't know about North Dakota, but yeah, that's going to be on TV.
I'm kind of a one day at a time kind of guy right now.
And we don't have a TV schedule yet either. They've just announced, a couple things. Well, I think basketball just came out. Maybe it was today.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll hear.
Hockey's always last for some of their TV stuff. So I think Jack should invest in some bunny ears so he can get all those local Fox 9 games. Or maybe Big Sis will have her password that she can share, or maybe Papa Ramsey can share a password.
they share an account. That's the issue. They don't want the third guy in.
Oh,
and then my other sister, they got DirecTV. So no, I don't watch YouTube TV. I pay for YouTube. I have YouTube Premium. I watch a lot of YouTube.
So the YouTube, not the TV. Okay.
Yeah, because it's $20 a month. I watch most of my stuff on there, and then I have Sunday Ticket and Red Zone, and that's like $33 a month. But yeah, I need to get the bunny ears because then I don't get the local. I don't get the local NFL games because that's not on Sunday Ticket.
Really?
I've always thought that's weird about Sunday Ticket, that you can get any NFL game except for local blackout.
Yeah, except for the Vikings game.
Yeah, so it makes no sense to me.
I don't know. It is pretty fun listening to, like, I enjoy listening to PA on the radio. Like, I spent 3 hours working on the yard on Sunday morning, just took it all in on the radio, and it's kind of fun to do that too.
That's what John King does, except he does it from the boat. He takes his pontoon out and he jumps in after every touchdown doing the skull chant.
We'll see if he's doing that in a couple of weeks, though.
I was gonna say, how late does that go?
I imagine it's done. I imagine it's done this weekend.
Oh boy,
I'm still baffled that no one noticed that the field goal hit the wire on the camera.
I've only seen kind of replays on like Twitter or whatever. I haven't really seen it.
Oh, it definitely hit the wire. Like,
okay,
yeah.
Like it's just going, and it moves, and you see the wire kind of move. And it's like, how does the kicker not notice?
Yeah.
I feel like when I hit a golf shot, I'm looking right up at that golf ball after contact. And if I hit a wire, in the golf, you got to replay it. So
local rules,
same thing.
Local
rules.
Lucky that they won that game because they wouldn't have. It's just the Minnesota thing to happen. It just is.
Yeah.
They hit a wire and they lose a game. Oh,
but
do we have another roster spot open for another quarterback potentially too?
That's one thing. They can do whatever they want, except when they're overseas. They had a tough time signing guys than they needed to because some guys didn't have passports and they couldn't get them overseas to fill in a spot or something like that. Not something you really think about in the NFL.
I always think that happens in the NHL quite a bit when they have these international guys get traded or signed. There's always the visa thing that has to get figured out before they can play games and stuff. That almost happened with Kaprizov when he first came over, and
a
lot of the holdouts can become an issue.
I should ask my dad about that. I bet he's got some funky stories. I feel like he's told me a few about guys not having passports and just messing up trips or something, or not being able to go.
It's such an international game now. compared to like when your dad played. You know, obviously, the whole Soviet bloc was closed down. So, but now it's everyone all over the world playing. So,
I think Russo had a story once of a Wild player that went on like the extended All-Star break to like some island or like Cancun or something. I don't know, something international, and they lost their passport on the way back.
been there.
So they couldn't like get on the team plane for the trip to Canada coming out of the break, and they had to expedite something to get
Yeah, I just know
them across.
about 5 seconds. Barb's going to see that. I remember when someone lost their passports.
It happens apparently.
Speaking of international and Canada and all this stuff, do you think Canadian universities would ever somehow join the NCAA? Spread that love out?
We heard a little bit about that about 10, 15 years ago, didn't we, Biggs?
Yeah, I
Some
just think it's
BC
such a high hill for them to climb. You look at all the NCAA college. I can't remember what they're called, like the Canadian sports teams or whatever. Like none of those games are close. So I think it would U Sports. Yeah, like very rarely are those legitimate games.
Yeah.
Now that maybe the CHL players who play a lot of games would be eligible, maybe it would make sense for a team to join college hockey, but it's such an investment. I think there's a big arms race in college hockey right now for buildings and locker rooms and training, all the money to. So, I think it'd be interesting. Like I think it'd be really fun for like McGill or something to have a big team, or who knows.
I feel like we played Alberta or somebody when I was a freshman or sophomore or whatnot, but CHL is going to get so watered down so fast. Compared to what it is now, you'll have those good 15, 16-year-olds and stuff like that, but it's just, guys are going to leave. How can you not watch fun like that?
I think they're going to love it, Viggs, because a lot of the facilities and the food, the practice is so much better in college and Big Ten and NCHC schools.
Mm-hmm.
It's
word's going to travel fast about how nice some of these facilities are, especially like the North Dakota guys. You bring in these even 17-year-olds into college hockey and they get that experience right away versus spending 2 more years going around in buses all over Canada. It's a totally different experience. We were talking about Tate Pritchard, the experience he had ahead of him at Minnesota State versus Minnesota. Can you blame him? I think a lot of these CHL guys are going to see that pretty quick too.
Do you see the one tweet or something is quoting the McKenna video of him going forks down? It's like, yeah, this looks a lot more fun than busing to Windsor and winning 10-2 or something like that. Like, how do you even compare? Like it's
you mentioned those exhibition games with those Canada schools. That's pretty much all the exhibitions are these days. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, they used to bring different type of teams in. I mean, they brought in like a Russian Dynamo team back in the 90s.
Yeah, and I remember like they play like the Olympic team.
Yeah, or
sometimes they'd be teammates.
You go back even further. Yeah,
because they'd spend the whole year getting ready for the Olympics.
Yeah, like your dad would have played against the University of Minnesota because they played an exhibition. They played,
they played like a
Mariucci, and then they played exhibition against the North Stars, and
yeah, I think they played like a full 68 game schedule or something like that. NHL wasn't the AHL. What was it?
IHL.
IHL, yeah. NHL, IHL, college. The international teams. Kind of cool how they full year and stuff. At least the development for those guys sucks for their teams that they didn't have them for that year, but pretty cool.
True.
Worked out.
Look back. I got to look back at some of this history. I remember some really weird. Oh, here we go. I go back to 92, 93. Czech national selects. They lost 5-1.
The Gophers lost 5-1?
Yeah. The next year,
they're playing men. Like
Yeah,
those are,
well, that's true. That's true.
the next year,
change.
93, 94, they lose 4-2 to the St. Petersburg Red Army.
That must have been a really cool game.
94, 95, they tied the Swedish Nationals in an exhibition. What else? So back in the 90s, it was definitely a big deal. Swiss national team, December 27th in 95, 96, they beat them 6-0. So
That'd be funny.
I mean, for a long time, they weren't playing these schools. There's the next year, Pori Aces out of Finland. They lost 5-4. They lost 10-2 against HV71 from Sweden the next year. I mean, this is good stuff here. Valerenga.
They have Bristat come back and play the Gophers, at 31 or something.
They beat the Russian Selects 5-4 in
Finally,
2001. So, and I don't know if I've seen one since then, but Team Italy, they beat Team Italy in 2002, 2003. So, and now it's like you said, it's Windsor, it's British Columbia, whatever.
Just a tune-up.
Mm-hmm. These are the teams you see when you hit random NHL team video games.
Yeah.
DeMarkey may have. DeMarkey got in a fight with everybody. Yeah, Andrew Carlson, I just mentioned that they did play Italy and they beat them. So I would love to see more of that, but what's this college select thing though? Isn't this coming up in December? Aren't they going to Europe and people are talking about Brody Lamb maybe playing on?
So it's the Spengler Cup.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
So I think Guy Gadowski's the coach of the team that'll go over. I think it's in Switzerland, I believe, and they'll play like a tournament there, and it's going to be older college players, so not junior players, but kind of a similar timeline. I think I'm accurate on that stuff, but I feel like Brad Schlossman hinted that we would start seeing initial players named to that team the next week or two here.
Okay.
So it's a Canadian team for the AHL and the ECHL and European leagues. Interesting. Well, they could make a team of guys that have played in the ECHL and AHL from college too.
How do you really feel?
Yeah. I'm just jealous.
I'm kind of with you guys. If they've played any, like you said, bigs, if they've signed a pro contract, that should be it. That should be
it. They should have moved on from whatever team they've previously been affiliated with, and if you were in the CHL, it's like the same thing. So I don't know.
How about
it's a weird one?
Where is he playing? He's playing in the USHL, I think. I think he played for NTDP last year. The goalie played for Tampa. He had a preseason game for Tampa Bay this year.
Oh, it was Heil.
The North Dakota commit.
Yeah,
Heil. First player to play in an NHL preseason game before playing in college.
Mm-hmm. Caleb Heil. That's what it is. Caleb Heil.
But like Maceo Phillips played in the dev camp for Calgary before playing his USHL. So I think that's kind of similar.
In a preseason game, though.
Yeah.
Well, the NHL camp, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Yeah,
that
makes sense. They should be bringing all their guys,
all their prospects,
sure.
Yeah,
or at least the guys who are the
drafted overagers.
Yeah, the high end ones for sure.
Oh, but you know what? What if Heil pulls a groin when he's playing that one period?
someone's gonna get hurt in these select games for sure. But I mean, guys get hurt in the World Juniors every
And those
year,
are veterans. Those are veterans too. That
yeah,
are guys who are heavily involved in their teams
yeah.
down the stretch. Do we know when that is? Is it before the juniors? Is it right?
It's
right
the same
after?
time. It's the
Same-
26th to the 31st.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So most teams have that break, so they don't have any college stuff going on. So as long as they're healthy going into it,
And
should be
right
a good
now-
experience for them.
And right now we're hoping to get credentialed for the World Juniors, aren't we, Viggs?
We're hoping. We're just putting in the good word.
We got a good word hopefully in for us. You know, if that does happen, we'll probably do a you want to get
Hey, guest
into?
pass? Hey, guest pass to that.
Jack Ramsey, intern, GPL.
I'm just gonna wear my Mariucci credential into Mariucci. Sir, that's the wrong credential.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to allow that. Maybe you can get Craig Floor to sneak you in somewhere. You know all the ins and outs. You could get into that building.
Yeah, there'll be an open door somewhere. 100%. You walk into Mariucci like you know the like you're supposed to be there. Yeah.
I remember there was a player at Augsburg who was a European when I was in my 20s, and he would go to Wild playoff games and just be like, "Yeah, I'm Yarocheski. I'm a black ace for the Blackhawks. I don't have any pass," and they just let him in. And they're just like, "He looks like a hockey player, talks like a hockey player. Sure, we'll let him in." And so he got to go to all the games. Just like he'd show his ID, be like, "Yeah, I'm from Czech Republic. I don't know. I'm supposed to be here."
I'm supposed to be here. I mean, there's 20 doors that you could try it on. You know, you're gonna get let in one of them.
Right. But
Yeah, an interesting credentialing process. You know, they want full, like they want your ID and they want, gosh, they even had a spot where you could put your like passport number in and things like that. So it's
Would that be
it's
for
different.
Mariucci and the X or
I think they cover both. I want to say,
Yeah, I think the World Juniors would be good for both. So
yeah. But the thing is, it'd be tough getting between venues for games because some of those games are real close together. You're not gonna be able to. Gonna have to kind of pick one, and then maybe move over to the arena for another game. But for
Light
the
rail.
second game,
light rail, just go back and forth.
that's you. Good luck with that. We'll see how fast you get back and forth.
Yeah. That's gonna be packed. It'll be fun. The U.S. has no games at Mariucci, right?
No. And they're going up to Duluth for their pre-tournament camp. So
Is it all
Which
at
was-
the X and Mariucci? No other.
Well, some pre-season, pre-tournament games are,
Right.
aren't they going to Duluth,
Bemidji, I think
Rochester? Maybe
Mankato.
Rochester.
Yeah, I think they're going around. Like different teams will go to different areas for their camp.
They gave some of that away during one of their conferences, and Fish is just like, I don't think we've announced that yet.
Thanks, Bob or John Beezer.
Yeah, it was Van Beek.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Who are the assistants for that this year? You guys said the BC coach, obviously Bob, and then
Miller's on staff. Now I'm gonna have to look see who else is on it.
When was the last time Reboyne did it? Didn't he do it?
Was he
I
there?
think he's
Was he
on
there over
the
summer?
staff this year. Yeah, he was around.
Yeah.
Yeah, Garrett's the third assistant. So Brown,
Okay.
Miller, Reboyne.
Okay.
Interesting.
It was funny during the showcase. We saw just about every college coach you'd want to see. Like we saw Hastings and Carl and Sandelin and
Keith Kachuk.
Chuck's.
Kachuk was there scouting.
Mayotte was there. So it was like a who's who of college hockey coaches.
Yeah, those are fun to walk around at. That was it. Carl's DU's coach. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
He what is he? 38.
He might be younger than that, actually.
Like, yeah, I saw him at a golf thing this summer, and I was like, man, I look older than he does.
35.
35.
Wow.
Yeah,
So yeah, he just stopped playing. It seems like.
that's crazy.
Well, he did. He had the heart condition, so
Yeah.
he just got
Is his
right
brother
into
still
coaching.
playing in the NHL?
I don't think so, but
That was Matt Carl, wasn't it?
yep.
Pretty good college player. He did win the Hobie, didn't he? I want to say Matt Carl won the Hobie. I'll get the tips. Oh boy. So yeah, it'll be fun. Hopefully we can get into that. Get a little crazy.
It's gonna be fun. I'll be over at Tom Reed's.
Right?
I'll be there for post game as long as I'm not coaching youth hockey. Put some
What are you
blackout
doing?
dates in there.
He's a busy man.
Are you? Do you have any coaching duties on November 1st? Check your calendar.
I might not
thinking-
know yet. So
I was thinking about, Hastings is like, come on down. I was thinking, that Wisconsin series is a Thursday, Saturday series, which is kind of ruined the trip for a lot of people because they'd love to go down there for, have a full day off. But I was thinking about getting up Saturday morning and going down there.
I do not have. I've got football tickets that day.
Oh, that's right. That's why a lot of people aren't going. But
Gophers against Michigan State, but I don't
Yep.
have any ice on Halloween or the 1st right now. So,
But you can't do anything on Halloween. Let the kids go out. They shouldn't be practice on Halloween. Just let the kids be kids.
That's such a tough bounce. Or what is it? A Thursday, Saturday.
Mm-hmm. I don't
Do
know
a
why.
Thursday, Friday. Do a Thursday, Friday, so the guys can have some fun. What are we doing?
Yeah, because they'll have a day off just doing nothing down there.
Yeah.
Do we
I
know
do
why that
remember. I do remember one year the Gophers played on Halloween, and I overheard players talking like the night before about their plan for after the game. They had a bus rented and everything, and then they went out Saturday. They played horrible, and I was just like,
Makes sense.
distraction factor. Worrying about getting out of the locker room into their costumes and making their Halloween bus.
Gotta make
It's
the
like-
bus on time.
Because Friday night's kind of parent night where you kind of go out with the parents, and Saturday night's more of the party night. Right, Jack? That's pretty close to it.
I don't know. I don't know.
No idea. Jack's got no idea. He had to get up. He had to get up early to go hunt deer. On
Yeah.
on
Damn
November
right.
1st.
The
And
second,
then drive down University with a deer strapped to the hood.
strap it on the old hood. Oh, yeah. No, that's my birthday's the 2nd. That's usually the past, I don't know, 6-7 years. I usually spend it in a tree stand, but this year I have a wedding in Texas on the 1st. So I have, and then an early flight back on my birthday. So it'll be a long Sunday.
What's your birthday?
November 2nd.
Really?
Yeah.
That's my birthday too.
Is it?
It totally is. Yeah. I'm a
That's the first time we found that one out.
November 2nd, 1972. Yeah, 72.
You
What
carry
are
the
you,
one.
92? Well, Craig Floor just sent a text over Viggs. He says that, on that day off, that Friday, the fans can go watch the Gopher women play Wisconsin
Nice.
that weekend.
Do that.
Maybe you'll see the polls.
Oh.
And he goes, yeah, they go and cheer for the men's team and then cheer for Wisconsin women's on Friday, Saturday.
We might have to hit up some of our contacts if find out what the deal is with that Viggs.
Yeah, can you imagine the alumni text thread?
Oh,
going
you
on?
know they've got a
Yeah.
string going.
Yeah.
You know they're giving him a hard time.
Oh, for sure.
Oh boy. Well, Craig Floor, if you know the women are playing there, why the day off? Do you know Craig Floor? Come on, you know things. Tell us. Craig Floor knows all. Craig Floor knows all, and he knows everybody. That man
That man.
The only
has to
reason it
be
makes
able to
sense.
use potential.
What do you got, Biggs? You're looking at
It's got to
something.
be the Wisconsin football schedule, right? They got to have.
Oh, do they play Friday?
I don't
They
think
might have a
do.
Friday night game because college football plays almost all the time now too.
They have a bye week for Halloween, so I have no idea why.
That's weird.
Man, they're gonna have some fun that weekend then.
Oh man,
No idea what it is.
yeah, that's.
So weird.
I'll let you ask the Bob. All right. Jess M wants to know.
I'll just
Look at
text Hastings.
Jess
I'll
M
just send
wants
him a
to
text.
know.
Let's just send Mike a text. See when I get back.
Hastings would be a good guest. I think we could
You guys ever
him
get
on.
coaches on this?
We've kind of shied away from it, unless I don't think we have had an active coach, have we?
No.
No. Because we like to do it live, so I don't know
Yeah,
how
that's
well
so
that would
tough for
jive with coaches.
Yeah.
Um,
You mean the Don's not itching to get on here?
You know, I bet you he would do it now, but he's this CCHA guy, so there's really not much for him to discuss.
Yeah,
now.
still can't do anything.
I mean, he's a lot more approachable these days, I would say, Viggs, and personable. Geez, when we ran into him at the Frozen Four a couple years ago, how you guys doing? Come on in, say hello. He was just like, oh wow.
I don't know if we'd get Gensel on.
Yeah, Gensel just loves you.
Loves me. I got to think, speaking of Don and Gensel, I have to imagine that the start of the season with them coaching the team is different than it is with Bob. Bob is very aware that he doesn't want to overcoach early in the year. He's like, I see so many things I want to correct and point out and fix and address. He's just like, I have to remember 90% reinforcing good habits, 10% calling out bad habits, make it, Saturday morning film. If we lost, that's a good time to teach, but just not all the time and constant. I feel like it was different for you.
Yeah, it was 90-10 the other way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not a lot of confidence coursing through these veins, man. like I said, especially second weekend against Duluth, and you're on the fourth line after starting the game on the first line. You're like, all right, okay, this is the way it is.
Had a good week of practice, though, right?
Had a great week of practice. Let me tell you,
is awesome.
Holy smokes, was I flying around in practice? Yeah.
Did you score that? No, I know you scored in Duluth. I remember you scoring a goal in Duluth. I was right in the glass. It was right in front of me.
No, that was St. Cloud. No, but yeah, that was one of the goals I scored. That was a good one. It was like a bar down one timer from maybe it was Norman or Camerata. Yeah, right in the soft area in the slot.
I had a terrible camera phone picture of it.
I'm gonna need that. Show my grandkids that one day.
I'd have to remember who sent it to me. That wasn't mine. Oh, yeah, that is weird. Just send a text to Hastings. He's going to get back to you. Maybe jump on the show real quick.
Yeah, I sent him the link to OT.
Yeah. He clicks this like, what am I doing here?
You hear him pop into the studio and then quickly disappear.
What do you do?
It's like Homer disappearing into the trees after
just
clicking the link. Yeah.
I love it.
So how you feeling about North Dakota next week, Jack? That's
how's North Dakota? They've been on the back burner the past few years, it seems like.
a little bit, yeah. But
they've been
new
so
coach,
portal heavy that I think they kind of lost their culture a little bit from what I can see from the outside. And they lost their NCHC Rookie of the Year to BU, and Dane Jackson did not.
And he was gone in February. I mean, They knew he was leaving.
Yeah.
They're leaning into everything that you can. So, and using it to their advantage. So see how it works out for them. I don't know. It's good for it's going to be good for the young guys. Gophers wise. It's like you go play there. You have a good series there. Nothing is scary the rest of the year. Nothing's intimidating. So like it's
The
great for
ticket
them.
prices, second market are $200, $300, $400.
Well, as a coach, you're either selling success or you're selling hope. And Dane Jackson is selling a lot of hope with a lot of chips in on this series, I think, with Minnesota, right? I mean, they're just rabid to see their program come back. You know, I think the expectations are so high, and they went all in on like these CHL talents with recruiting. You know, I do like Zellers, the kid who was the USHL Player of the Year last year. Like he's a tough, like he fits the North Dakota model of tough player, like playing through injury and playoff performer and gutsy and hard nosed. So
Look through this. Yeah, how many guys did they pick up? 1, 2, 3, 4.
I believe they're only doing the 18 scholarship thing, though, aren't they, Viggs? Didn't I remember hearing that? Like Minnesota. Gosh, I should remember. Oh, we got Brad on next week. He'll know.
he'll know all the inside stuff.
He knows everything. He knows everything.
Yeah, he did a great story about North Dakota, like saving their roster, like the turnover after they made the move. It was a really interesting read. So I encourage people to see it if they can.
10 guys on their roster are transfer or major junior.
Mm-hmm. That's a big turnover.
That's crazy. And, maybe they're returning and stuff, but still, that's a lot of not going and getting your own talent kind of thing. I guess you're still going and getting it, but you're not recruiting it.
I mean, who did they play this weekend, Viggs? Because they only played one exhibition last weekend.
St. Thomas. So on my top 20, that's one of the big local flair series to watch.
Okay. Okay.
They dumped on Manitoba 7-0.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't really show you anything. So
Michigan dumping on Mercyhurst last weekend. Holy buckets.
Oh.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah,
Mercyhurst is not the greatest, but you just don't see that Viggs anymore. You don't see that kind of score. I mean, we used to see it like in the early 2000s, Alabama Huntsville comes in and they get beat 10-rip by the Gophers, but you don't see that these days that often.
We've also got Augustana, Minnesota Duluth, and we've got St. Cloud State, Bemidji State. So we've got a lot of local flair games going on this weekend. So
I like it. I might maybe even go over to the was that on Sunday? That's the 12th. So that must be Sunday. Yeah, they're doing a home and home with St. Thomas. So it might be kind of
really?
Yeah.
That's kind of a haul for a home and home.
Yeah. I'd like to go pick up. It's funny. I was with the McKenna stuff on my Instagram feed and Twitter. I have so much stuff popping up from Penn State's official pages. And I'm like, I'm liking it. And I'm like, And I'm like,
now you're going to get a lot of it.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to see more of it, but I'm like, this kind of feels gross that I'm liking like their Instagram posts and stuff. But I'm like, this is entertaining. I want to see more of it. Maybe I'll go watch St. Thomas in North Dakota and watch some of these guys play. I'm just curious.
That'd be tough to get in there, wouldn't it, Viggs? Even though the new arena, it's going to be a tough ticket. The open arena, is that opening?
Is that next year?
Or is it next year?
I should know this. I feel like it's this year, but I don't think it's that series.
Oh, man.
Are they playing at the X against North Dakota?
Oh.
Yep.
They are?
Good call. Yep, they are.
Yeah,
Well, there you go. Then I definitely get into that.
AKA Grand Casino Arena, because they're opening against Providence at the Lee and Penny Anderson Arena. There's still trucks going down Cretan trying to get stuff wrapped up, I think, there.
Okay.
But I did see, I know some teams are practicing in the auxiliary rink there already. So I know that's open because I've seen some youth hockey associations ice times. So Providence will be a tough team to open that up.
Grand Casino Arena. That's tough.
Yeah, that should have been like a Gophers type game, you know. Let's try to pack that.
Minnesota went big on their schedule this year. They were sick of blowing out St. Thomas.
Yeah, I just want to pour gas on that rivalry. Really want to get into that.
Well, that game last year between St. Thomas and Minnesota got kind of dirty at times. Remember, like there was the major penalties and stuff, and
yeah, Minnesota they didn't like what Minnesota was doing, and they just kind of piled it on at the end. And what was the score of that game?
Because I remember there's some local kids on the St. Thomas roster that looked very frustrated with how that game was going. So, but I'm sure the Tommy fan base will love going to Grand Casino and having some beverages on their way down West 97th Street.
Yeah, it was 7-1 at Mariucci and 6-2 at the XL last year.
It's kind of tight for a while, I thought, and then it got just the blowers.
Yeah, I think that was that XL game. Yeah.
I think it was a little nervy right at the start, and then it got out of hand.
Minnesota had a big second. It was 2-1 after one Minnesota. Then they got 3 in the second, and they both shared some goals in the third. And then the 7-1 game was 3-1 after one, 4-1 after 2, then 3 goals in the third to make it 7-1. So,
which out of conference game are you guys most excited for this year? I mean, they're happening now, so.
Well, I'm going up to North Dakota, so I'm looking forward to that, and then Denver. Definitely Denver, even if it is just a 1-game deal.
The only thing about the Denver series is it's just 1 game.
Yeah.
I always like to see if a team can respond for the second one. I think it's watching the excitement level. North Dakota is number 1 every time they play, even more so because the North Dakota fan base is just on fire right now, and those ticket prices are so high. I think that'll be a really fun series to watch.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? Denver is good practice for the NCAA tournament when you only get 1 game, Viggs.
It's true. Trip in a one-off, that's always important. But yeah, North Dakota for me.
I like that. Are you guys going to the Denver one by chance?
No, I'm going to be tied down with family
and stuff.
He's Mr. Coach. You're Mr. Coach too, Viggs.
Yeah, I'm trying to help a 10U and a Pee Wee team, and I'm in a lot of hockey arenas during the week, so I enjoy it. Are you back helping this year, Jack?
Yeah, I'm helping to an extent. It's just tough with work, so we got a lot of good coaches on staff, but I'm on week 3 of youth tryouts at Minnetonka right now, and I'm like, it's every single day, boom, 5 hours, and then the weekends, boom, 6 hours. So I've been in the hockey rink for a lot of time the past few weeks, and still have like another 2 weeks to go. Finish Pee-wees and on to squirts.
Oh my goodness!
So give us the high school Javon Moore.
Let's see. I had him as junior and senior. Senior year. Junior was the state championship team. He was, his shot in high school, like, I'm curious to see how many goals he can score this year. Like, his shot in high school, I was like, this is an NHL shot. This is the best shot I've seen in my life. So it's curious to see how many goals he'll pop this year. And he didn't get any power play looks, I think, last week, and so it'll be interesting to to see what he has there. I don't think he has much of a one-timer, at least he didn't in high school. It's just a wrist shot. But kind of like last weekend from some of the tweets and highlights I saw, like if he wants to turn it on, he can take over a game. At least it was like that in high school. I think he still has the speed and size to do that in college. Like I think he went back post or crashed the net one of the times, stirred up a scrum this weekend. Like it's really up to him. Hey, which version are we going to get? Is it going to be the Javon that wants to stir the pot tonight and dominate, or is in the first period he's not going to be as physical kind of thing? So ball's in his court for those things. So I think he could be a really, really dominant player if he wants to, but it's going to be up to him. But incredible potential and ceiling, I think. So like the athleticism is crazy. So he can move for a guy that big, and it'll be interesting to see. I haven't seen him in a while. I'm sure I'll see him around the rink this year when I'm there, but see what Cal Dietz has done to him. Like, and he's like 6'4". He has the frame to be a really, really big guy. So he could be huge if he gets that working in the Cal Dietz gym. So I'm excited for him.
Now, Viggs, I learned, when the roster came out that he's actually from Carver, Minnesota, which is very close to me here. Did he always play in the Minnetonka system?
I'd have to check the hockey DB of when he moved over. That was
so he would have been in Chaska, wouldn't he?
It was Chaska. Yep. Let's pull it up.
Interesting. Yeah, because his introduction's from Carver, Minnesota. I'm like,
he switched in Bantams to Minnetonka. It looks like.
Okay. That old Minnetonka recruiting.
So so that means he went to freshman year. He was at Minnetonka.
Okay.
I always think it's interesting, like this kind of player, like the big physical, but also very skilled player. Like the consistency for a player like that is so hard, I think, to see. And I just don't know why it's always a question mark, but there's always been a lot of big guys who've come into like college and pro hockey, and you just see such variance in their game. And I don't know if it's because like there's a fear of penalties or there's a desire to be a skilled player, but you've got that size. It's just it's always a mystery. Like Matthew Nyes was very consistent for a big guy at always being noticeable, winning pucks and creating opportunities off of winning those pucks. And then you see some guys like Jackson Nelson, like they're big physical guys, but they just kind of pop, disappear, sometimes throughout a game. But if you like get in there, be in their bonnet, it's like, okay, now the switch is on. Now this player is going to take over a game and dominate for a while. So it's always an interesting thing to figure out.
I mean, Nice protected the puck so much, Viggs. That's why it was on his stick and it stayed on his stick a lot of times because of his size.
Well, he just used it so well.
Oh,
Jack, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just like Nyes is that example of he's that guy, but he's different too. Like he does have that extra level. I mean, obviously look what he's done, but he just has that extra level. But you could also say he has that extra level because he knew exactly who he was supposed to be. There's these big guys, like you painted the picture perfect. I think they want to be too skilled. And it's like, you're going to have a really good career in college. You're going to play pro. You might play some NHL games, but like, hey, if you lean into this role over here, like you're going to do really, really well, but it's not as sexy. It's not as fun. It's harder to do. And it's the skill side. It might be a little bit easier. It's a little bit sexier, but it's just not as successful for yourself or for the team. It's hard to get through guys' heads like that. So then when you get Nyes, a guy like that who buys into that thing, they're a special player. But it's hard to get that mix of talent and that mix of buy-in. So I'm really curious to see, like Javon specifically, what he does, because he has all the intangibles to just be dominant, I think. So we shall see.
Have you ordered anything?
I haven't ordered anything. No. I told you guys
so patient.
I had that chicken pot pie. I don't know. It was pretty good. We got a lot of leftovers. It's
There's
nice.
nothing wrong with chicken pot pie, boy.
No, it's not the baked over pie one either. It's got biscuits. It's just kind of like chicken pot pie with biscuits in it.
I've cooked it that way. Just put the little biscuits on top. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. So that's kind of calling my name too. Go scarf that down and sneak up the bedroom while my wife's sleeping.
Oh boy. You got anything else, Migs? I'm kind of tired.
Yeah, I think we're good. Jack, I appreciate you coming on, spilling a little dirt on Minnetonka lifestyle and hockey and your travels. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to
you had?
seeing
You
this.
had sweep?
No, you had.
I got split.
Sorry,
So
split.
hard.
Jude?
Yeah.
It was a split.
Split. Yeah, I'm on the same page with you guys. I'd be happy with a split.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't be happy with it. I'd be happy with a sweep.
Yes, but I'd be happy with it. You might look back on it and go, "Hey, this BC team's actually a wagon, and we picked one off of them."
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
We get them the big weekend up in Grand Forks. I'm looking forward to that. So
The biggest thing I want to see on this weekend is better breakouts.
Oh, yeah.
And just getting back to that team we saw on Friday. Like, show some of that, create those puck races to the net where, they can use their speed. They just looked really slow Saturday, so don't do that. Hey, for our faithful, if you are still watching, we appreciate you. We love you. We do appreciate subscribers to our channel. I think Mote brought this up earlier.
Yeah.
We could use more subscribers, a little more support. Appreciate that, Mote.
Yeah, I mean, we have full videos, post games whenever we're there, and even Chris picked it up last week and got a little bit of video. And we can't get to we're not at all the games. We can't get video of all. Look at that. He subscribed.
Be like Jack.
No, I was already subscribed.
Yeah, we throw stuff up there when we can, so we do our best. All right, guys, let's call it a night. Jack, stay on for just a couple seconds here as videos get uploaded. Good night, everybody. We'll catch you next week.
That he wanted to have a chicken pot pie. I'm sure he secretly ordered the Taco Bell.
Oh.
Just in case somebody was watching,